US troops suffer fresh losses in Jordan as Iran claims another deadly wave of precision strikes against American military positions. Iran exposed America's weakest point, alleging US air defenses faltered as more troops were killed in the latest attacks. Iran releases footage showing weapons carrying a sinister message as fresh attacks are launched against American military assets. Despite Trump's 11th straight night of strikes, Mujtaba Khamenei's campaign is unstoppable with relentless retaliation. In the latest round of tit-for-tat exchanges, Iran continued raining missiles and drones on America's Gulf allies, intensifying the regional battlefield. On July 22, the IRGC claimed its forces delivered major blows to multiple US military bases stationed across Jordan. Iran's elite Revolutionary Guards named the latest wave of attacks inside Jordan as Operation Al-Barq, presenting it as a major military campaign. According to Press TV, the IRGC targeted Jordan's Al Faisal and Prince Hassan air bases, both hosting key American military assets. Iran claimed F-15 fighter jets, military drones, and helicopters stationed at the two US bases were deliberately placed in its crosshairs. According to IRNA, Iran claimed the strikes destroyed 8 newly deployed US MQ-9 Reaper drones while leaving 2 others heavily damaged. The IRGC further asserted that its operation in Jordan also inflicted damage on 2 heavy-duty American military helicopters. Press TV further claimed the Iranian strikes left several American troops either injured or killed during the latest barrage. Iran also recalled that 3 US soldiers were killed in an earlier attack on a military base in Jordan on July 17. The IRGC further alleged that housing blocks and service buildings inside Jordan's Azraq air base also came under direct attack. Jordan's armed forces, however, maintained that Iranian drones were successfully intercepted and destroyed before reaching their intended targets. Beyond Jordan, American military installations in Kuwait and Bahrain also reportedly came under an intense onslaught of Iranian missiles and drones. Iran claimed its Arosh drones struck equipment depots and aircraft hangars inside Bahrain's strategically important Sheikh Isa air base. Iran said its drones targeted US military facilities at Camp Doha in Kuwait on July 22 during its latest round of attacks. According to Iran's Tasnim news agency, the strikes hit ammunition depots and logistics equipment used by US ground forces. Tehran described the operation as a direct response to what it called repeated US military aggression against Iran. Iranian officials said the country's armed forces remained fully prepared to respond to any further US military action in the region. Amid the reported attacks, Kuwait said its air defense systems were intercepting hostile drones over parts of the country. Iran described Camp Doha as a major US military support hub responsible for troop deployments and logistical operations. Meanwhile, Al Jazeera reported that Kuwaitis began rationing electricity after strikes reportedly damaged parts of the national power grid. Kuwaiti authorities said conservation measures helped reduce pressure on the electricity network during periods of peak demand. Iran's latest wave of retaliation unfolded even as the United States carried out strikes against Iranian targets for an 11th consecutive night. US Central Command said, and I quote, "CENTCOM forces began striking military targets in Iran at 7 p.m. ET today for the 11th consecutive night. The strikes are designed to continue degrading Iran's ability to threaten commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz." At 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time on July 21, US Central Command, CENTCOM, successfully completed the 11th consecutive evening of strikes against Iran. CENTCOM assets targeted Iranian military operations centers, maritime capabilities, aircraft hangars, drone storage facilities, and military logistics infrastructure to further degrade Iran's ability to threaten commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. Over the past 3 months, Iran has attacked more than 30 commercial vessels transiting the international waterway vital for regional and global trade. The unwarranted attacks have endangered hundreds of innocent mariners and undermined freedom of navigation. Despite Iranian aggression, the Strait of Hormuz remains open for commercial vessel transit. Since early May, CENTCOM forces have helped facilitate the transit of approximately 900 commercial vessels and 450 million barrels of crude oil. End quote. Despite mounting battlefield losses, Donald Trump has continued authorizing nightly strikes on Iran even as the reported US troop death toll has climbed to 18. Amid the escalating war, the US Secretary of State used a public appearance to sharply criticize Iran over the breakdown of peace talks, accusing Tehran of undermining diplomacy even as Washington insists it still prefers a negotiated way out of the crisis. Marco Rubio said on July 22 that Iran had failed to uphold commitments reached in previous rounds of negotiations, arguing that agreements only matter if both sides actually implement what they sign and suggesting that Tehran had fallen short on that basic test. Rubio warned that the United States would take whatever steps it deems necessary if Iran is not serious about negotiations, stressing that Washington is ready for talks but will not hesitate to act to protect its own interests and those of its allies if diplomacy is abused or stalled. He delivered these remarks while speaking at an ASEAN meeting, using the regional forum to explain the US position to Asian partners and to frame the Iran crisis as a broader issue of international security and respect for commitments, not just a Middle Eastern dispute.
We are open-minded and always willing to engage in negotiated settlements of differences, and that remains true in the case of Iran. Unfortunately, as of now, despite their direct outreaches, and Iran has been reaching out to the United States both directly and indirectly to engage in talks about settling the differences with regards to what's happening in that part of the world. Unfortunately, so far, even though we have reached agreements, they have not kept their commitments. And as the President stated earlier today, I guess, today Washington time, yesterday our time here now, the problem we're having right now is that they're not serious about talks. If they're serious, we're serious. If they're not, then we will do what is necessary to protect that, our interest and also the interest of our allies. And if we create a precedent in the Middle East where a nation state can decide that they are going to control an international waterway, charge a toll, and if you don't pay them, blow up your ships, we have created a very dangerous precedent which will repeat itself in other parts of the world, including in this region. So what is at stake here is not simply the issue of what's happening in the Straits of Hormuz. It's a very fundamental principle about freedom of navigation. The United States is now going to, as we announced last year and have been following up in the year since our last gathering, leverage all available tools in our government to strengthen these relations, and that includes on the topic of foreign assistance. As part of that effort, we're delivering $2.5 billion in U.S. government strategic investments in Southeast Asia, reinforcing our commitment to the region. And we're investing because the development of ASEAN is also in the interest of the United States. This is not charity. This is not something we're doing because we're nice people, although I believe we are nice people, but it's in our national interest.
Over the weekend, at least 3 U.S. troops were killed in Iranian attacks, underscoring how costly the fighting has become for American forces even before any new escalation orders are carried out. Rubio's latest remarks came as US and Iranian forces traded blows for the 11th straight day, with continuous exchanges turning the conflict into a grinding war of attrition rather than short, sharp strikes. US War Secretary Pete Hegseth has told lawmakers that the financial cost of the war has already reached about $37.5 billion, highlighting how the campaign is draining resources even as the administration asks for more emergency funding. Trump has meanwhile threatened to order a major strike on a suspected Iranian nuclear site known as Pickaxe Mountain, warning that US forces could hit the underground complex very heavily in the near future. That threat prompted Tehran to warn that any attack on such a facility would mark an expansion of the war across the region, with Iranian commanders vowing to target US interests and those of its allies if Pickaxe Mountain is struck.